Alright, hello, this is Kyle High Club. This will be MMA episode number 9. This is my fucking third attempt trying to fucking do this episode because this motherfucker keeps trying to call me in between it and stopping my recordings. So yeah, fuck that. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, but somehow he still called me, so I guess that doesn't work. People can still disturb you when you're in Do Not Disturb mode. What the fuck? So now I'm on airplane mode. Motherfuckers can't even call me, hopefully. I hope I don't even have a signal. I'm just trying to fucking record here. With that being said, let's just try to hop into it again. It's my third time talking about this fight in the last fucking 2 minutes. First fight of the night was between Brandon Davis and Randy Costa. Costa, this was his UFC debut. He was undefeated, I believe 4-0 with all first-round finishes in his career. He looked like a solid guy. Brandon Davis, of course, fought Zabit in the past, and although Zabit is, one of the top 10 guys in the division, if not top 5, and, might possibly have a belt one day. Brandon Davis is still a solid guy, hung in there, and his stock actually rose when he fought Zabit because he was able to stand in there and, take all that punishment and actually deal some punishment of his own. So this is a good fight to start out the night. These fights are on ESPN Plus and UFC Fight Pass, so whichever subscription you have, you could view them on there. In the first round, I think Randy Costa came out and had some crazy, there was just crazy exchanges back and forth between the two guys. I think Costa definitely hurt Davis in the beginning and tried to empty the gas tank and finish him. But I think that may have cost him. Well, I think it definitely cost him the fight. Although Costa, he put out a very good output in the first. It seemed like he started for fatigue towards the second. And Costa had never been out of the first round in any of his pro fights, so it was something he had never dealt with before. You can train for 15 minutes, you can plan on having cardio for the entire 15, but once you get in there and a guy's actually punching you and you're actually going full throttle, full pace, it's not a sparring matchup. It's a different story. I have never been in a professional fight, so I don't really know, but this is what guys that have been in professional fights have said, and I'm just copying shit that guys smarter than me are saying. That's how it works. That's how all people work. Most people don't come up with genius things on their own or whatever, their own opinions or their own facts on their own. There's some bias or some, some cut and pasting and rewording of things. I mean, that's just how we all work. It's just human beings. So yeah, I think Costa, had a little too much output in the beginning. Was throwing a lot of I guess significant strikes and just strikes that take a lot of stamina out of you if you keep throwing them, especially if the guy's just standing there and he takes it and you can deal back punishment. I know Brandon Davis didn't, since he had been in with Zabit and he realized, looking across the corner, oh, Zabit's not there, okay, I feel confident I can get this win. And I think it ended up being a tougher fight than he thought. I actually gave Costa the first round. But as I said, I think he emptied his gas tank a little bit, didn't really pace himself that well, and that will come with experience. He's still a young guy, and he should, I look forward to both of these guys fighting again. But essentially in the second round, Davis and Costa had some more exchanges, but then I think Davis hit him with it was a knee, I think, the body, and that hurt Costa, and Costa actually started, he's tried to go for the takedown. It was almost like DC Daniel Cormier, current heavyweight champ, said that he was panic wrestling, and when a guy's panic wrestling, especially when he's not a wrestler, that he's hurt, that he's in trouble. I think Brandon Davis realized that, kind of let him go for the takedown. He didn't let him get taken down, but just reverse position, ended up getting his back and choking him out with the rear naked choke in the second round and got a solid victory. And, good for him. And I think Costa will learn from this and should be, better than ever. I look forward to both these men fighting. And, Costa, I think, was like 22, 23 or 24, so he's a young dude. He's got a promising future, and so does Brandon Davis. I look forward to both these guys fighting again. It was a great fucking way to start out the night. I wish Brandon Davis, got a little extra money for that finish. Give him 10 G's for the finish. But I mean, with how many good fights there were this night, it'd be, if they did what my suggestions were for performance bonuses or finish bonuses, they'd be dishing out a lot of money tonight. But the performance bonuses ended up going to the great fights at the end of the night, the co-main and main, which is good. They were definitely the best fights of the event, highest competition, highest marquee, more eyes on it. So obviously they deserve the fight of the night performance bonuses, all four of those guys. But there's some really good fights on the prelims and early prelims, and guys got some finishes or dominating performances. And yeah, they'll get their win bonuses, but I don't know. UFC's got money, man. What's the extra 10 G's? Doesn't matter. The second fight was between Lauren Mueller and Paulina Botello. This is a good fight. I thought Paulina dominated distance round 1 and 2. Just kept her distance. She was a longer fighter, better striker, more athletic, and just all around better striker, better athlete, and just better at keeping distance. But it looked like she kind of gassed in the third round, and Lauren Mueller was able to get on top of her, and she came on strong in the third round, and I ended up giving the third round. I gave the first two to Polyana, but I think it was just a little too late for Lauren Mueller. I think the rest of the judges thought the same. All of them gave 29-28 to Polyana, and she ended up getting the decision victory. Wasn't the most exciting matchup, but it was a good matchup between styles, and I look forward to seeing Polyana back in there again. I know Lauren Mueller's a little up there in age. I think she was like 38 or so. So we'll see if she comes back to fight. She definitely, she didn't get like dominated. She definitely could take some pluses from this fight and maybe start a little earlier with that pressure in the ground game, because once she had her down in the third, I mean, she dominated her. If this was a 5-round fight, she would have definitely won rounds 4 and 5, because Polyana was gassed. But they signed up for a 3-round fight, and that's what they got. It was just a little too late for her. And yeah, and that was at 115. Polyana one day might be a contender, and that'd be interesting to see. Got a lot going on in that women's 115 strawweight division. It's a stacked division right now. The next pay-per-view card, UFC 237, is between Rose Thug Namajunas and Jessica Andrade, and that's going to be an amazing fight. I can't wait. Can't wait to talk about it either. But the next fight on this card, and the third fight of the night, was between Montel Jackson and Andre Sukumdada. I don't have any scores for myself. I got a little distracted while watching this fight, but looking through the judge's decision, didn't really seem... I mean, I definitely watched it, and this was the biggest betting differential on the card, and it showed why. Montel Jackson ended up pretty much dominating in every facet, on the feet, on the ground. And I might watch it again in the future just to see, how good he did. One judge scored it 30-26, so they gave a 10-8 round in there. Another was 30-27, and another round, a judge gave it 29-27, so they gave one round to Andre Sukumdada. So maybe I should have watched that again before talking about it, but at the end of the day, he on 3 out of 3 judges, 3 rounds, he won 8 out of the 9 rounds for the judges, in the judges' eyes. And in one of the rounds, he got a 10-8, so he really kind of won them all. It was pretty much dominating performance. Congrats to him. Look forward to watching him fight again. He's definitely a young prospect, up-and-comer, and, has a bright future. Next fight on the card to end out the early prelims, and this is a good matchup in the featured early prelims, was between Curtis Millender and Bilal Muhammad. And man, goddamn, Bilal Muhammad, man, he's legit. I mean, I've known he's legit for a while, and I know guys that follow the sport know, but Curtis Millender is not he's not an easy guy to fight. Yes, his ground game's a little green, and that's where Muhammad ended up getting this victory, in my opinion. And objectively so as well, not subjectively. But, I think Millender looked solid in the beginning, and he had a couple good shots in the first round, but I think Bilal ended up having some decent he had some decent strikes in the first round as well, decent exchanges, and I gave all 3 rounds to Muhammad. I gave the first one to him. And then the second 2 rounds, the second and third round, it was pretty much Muhammad all the way. He dominated the third, finished strong, dominated the ground game. And he won most of the striking exchanges at 2, so I think it was a dominating win from him. And again, the same exact scoring from the last fight. So one judge had it 29-27, so they gave 1 round to Millender. Maybe he had to give the first round to Millender. There's no way he gave the second or third. And so did the second judge, so he gave first round to him as well. But then the third judge gave it 30-26, so he gave all 3 rounds to Bilal Muhammad, and I'm assuming the third round he gave it 10-8. I don't know. It's a little inconsistency there, but that's why there's 3 judges, I guess. I think they should have 5 to iron it out, because as you'll see later, and I'll talk about, I think there was 2 decisions that were a little iffy in my mind, at least. And just, I'm no expert. I don't get trained on this, but I don't even know if the judges do. So who fucking knows? But we'll get into that. Good performance by Bilal Muhammad, and he deserves a top 15 guy, or at least a guy that's right on the cusp. I think Millender was right on the cusp. I mean, he was ranked, I believe, or at least close to being ranked before he fought Lucio dos Santos. Soliski. I don't know how to say his name. But, man, Muhammad deserves a guy on that, on the 15th cusp, on that ranking cusp, close to getting a number by his name. In this next fight, this guy definitely deserves some extra money, man. It was between Dustin Salman and Khalid Taha. And it was pretty much over before it started for Dustin Salman, who made his UFC debut. Khalid Taha got in there, KO'd him with the left hook. Pretty much right away, 25 seconds of the fight, and that was pretty much it. He starched him. It was fifth fastest knockout at 135 bantamweight men's history. That dude deserves a little extra money. Come on. If you starch a dude in fucking 25 seconds, you deserve a little extra money in your pocket. But it is what it is. So it was a great way to start off the prelims, which are on ESPN, just regular-ass ESPN. So it's pretty cool to see, a couple of these guys to be on cable TV and, maybe rise their stardom. Maybe some guys know who Khalid Taha is now after starching probably the coolest name in MMA in Dustin Salman. Next fight, second fight on the prelims, 6th fight overall of the night, was between Max Griffin and Zalim Ahmadiyov. I didn't know this going into the fight, but these guys had trained in the past, or at least sparred in the past, and Max Griffin had some issues with the way Zalim sparred and some of the techniques he was using, so I'm guessing he was a little over-aggressive while Max is probably preparing for a fight, getting ready for a fight, but Zalim was probably going, full tilt and just trying to hurt somebody. He's a young guy, he's from Russia, so that's a different type of human being, that's a different type of white person, those Russians are tough. This ended up being a pretty decent fight. Max Griffin had several takedowns in the first, and I think he dominated the ground control. And I gave him the first round 10-9, but then Zalim had a -1 point taken for a cage grab. It was the first cage grab of the night, no warning. Well, I don't know if it's the first cage grab of the night, first cage grab of that fight, and no warning, referee took a point. And I like that. I like just taking a point right away. Fuck the warnings. You already know the rules. I mean, yes, it is his debut, so maybe he doesn't know all the rules, but the lower organizations pretty much have all the same rules as well. So compliments that ref. I don't remember the ref's name, but it was this older black gentleman in DC while I was commentating, was calling him Swaggy G. So I don't know, maybe we'll see that guy again. I don't think I've ever seen him referee fights before, but I praise him for, no nonsense, no bullshit, and just taking a point away right away once the cage grab happened. So in my mind, that first round was 10-8 to Max. But then the second and third rounds I had going to Zalib, Amadeoff, 10-9 each. He lit up Max Griffin in the second. He was very aggressive, had lots of spinning attacks. But I think that might have, hindered him later in the third round. Both guys were super exhausted. It was a tough fight. That third round was weird to judge. In my notes I have third round question mark, and I tried to watch the fight again, but I couldn't find it. ESPN Plus they only have the early prelims and the main card up on there. They don't have the regular prelims, which I'll understand. You showed it on ESPN, just put it back on ESPN Plus. That's what you've done with every other fight card, so why not this one? So I wasn't able to watch the third round again, but I did have it going to Zalib. I thought he did more damage, and I thought he had more output, and I thought he won that round, but who knows? So the way I scored it, I had it as a draw, but the judges saw it differently. One judge did have it as a draw, 28-28, and the other two had it 29-27 to Max Griffin, so I ended up getting the majority decision. So congrats to him. And the next fight of the night was between Wilson Hayes, a veteran, and Alexandre Pantoja, who's solid guy. I've never seen Pantoja fight, I'm glad I bet a little money on him. It was a fine performance. He ended up KOing Wilson Hayes in the first round, about 3 minutes in at 2:58 into the round. He dropped him with a straight right, and then pretty much just, a little ground and pound there and finished the job. Hayes did have a takedown before that, but Pantoja was able to get up pretty quickly and defend that. Hayes didn't really land any damage, and once they got to the feet, he dropped him with the same strike that Henry Cejudo dropped him when they fought. I didn't point that out. DC pointed that out, so I thought I would just repeat it. It was good showing for Pantoja, and man, he deserves, potential title shot eventually. He definitely deserves a top 3 guy. And I don't think, man, they should get rid of this 125 flyweight division. And the fucking commentators, they keep saying, we don't know the future of this division by the end of the year. Is it going to be scrapped? Cejudo's moving up? No, man, don't do it. You got fighters in this division, and they're fighting, and there's some good up-and-coming guys that are coming up with some power, too, especially Pantoja. And, Cejudo's going to fight Moraes at 135 for the vacant belt there. But at 125, they got Benavidez and is it Justin Formiga? Jussier Formiga. Dana White already said those two are going to fight for the number 1 contender spot. So whoever wins that will fight Cejudo for the belt next. And then, so that will happen. They'll probably put that on the same card. They'll probably put, and I already know, Cejudo and Moraes is set for, I think, UFC 230. It's either 238. No, it's 238 because I'm going to that one June 8th, I think, at Chicago. And I believe that's the headliner for that card. And maybe they'll put Jussier Formiga versus Joseph Benavidez in there as well. And then, so once those two fights play out, let's just say, for argument's sake, just to make it easy for the 125 division, to make it easy for Cejudo to go back. Say Cejudo loses, which I don't know that's, who knows what's going to happen, honestly, in that fight, and I'll talk about that when it comes up. But let's say Cejudo loses. So then, he's not 135-pound king, so he has to defend his belt. He has to go back to the 125. I think that's best case scenario for 125, honestly. Because if Cejudo wins 135, then he's 135-pound champ. He could just stay there and say, fuck 125, that cuts too hard. Now that I'm 35, I feel even better. And I think that's probably the plan for his career. I mean, he's a big 135er. When he fought Mighty Mouse the second time, you could tell he's a lot bigger than Mighty Mouse. He's a lot bigger than those guys at 125. But yeah, let's say Cejudo loses, so that means he has to go back down to 125 to defend that belt. So he'd fight whoever wins between Josier Formiga and Joseph Benavidez. Hopefully they make that fight happen and soon. And then after that fight, it really doesn't matter who wins that fight. Let's just say, for argument's sake, Cejudo wins again. Or Benavidez or whoever, or Formiga beats Cejudo after Cejudo fights Moraes. This all probably won't happen till the end of this year, around December. Then after that, this guy, Alexandre Pantoja, who just won, he needs to fight a guy, top 3. Somebody besides Cejudo, Josier Formiga or Benavidez. I don't know who that is right now. I should probably have my laptop pulled up, but I got a Boston Red Sox game playing in the background, so fuck it. So after Cejudo fights the number 1 contender at 125, I think, if Pantoja can get another win versus a top 5 guy, he deserves that next shot, and he looks solid, and, he could potentially have a belt wrapped around his waist one day, as long as they keep that 125-pound division. I don't understand why would get rid of division when, when there's fighters in that division. They're there. They're going to still make you money. They might not be the most, biggest draws on a pay-per-view, but that's fine. You just don't put them on pay-per-view, man. Just put them on, some of the feature bouts on ESPN. Start to build a couple of these guys, or just put them on the prelims. You got spots for fights, man. You don't have to scrap an entire division just because, they're not making you a shit ton of money. They're still going to make you some money, but they're not Conor McGregor. They're not John Jones. And I think the reason the 125 division was talking about being scraped was because Mighty Mouse was just dominant. And, undefeated for the longest time in that division. But now that he was defeated by Cejudo, and now that he's gone, now it's interesting to see these fresh and up-and-comers get a chance, and, there's so many new matchups to make. I'm excited for it, and I like seeing the smaller guys fight because they're a little more technical, fast, agile, and it's amazing to see the striking and grappling exchanges when just at that blazing speed and just the cardio. I mean, those guys never stop. You don't see guys at 125, 135 get tired. It's pretty cool. And then it's even better when guys can show power, as Pantoja's shown power, Cejudo's shown power. So I think the division's in the best shape it's looked in the past decade. Please don't scrap it. With that being said, going on a long tangent, the featured prelim was between Jalen Turner and Matt Steamroller Fervola. This is a good fight between stylistically wise. You got a long, rangy striker in Jalen Turner, who was about 6'3", I believe, and Matt Steamroller Fervola was 5'9". So he's got to be creative to get in there, cut the distance and, disrupt Turner. And, he got the job done. Fervola ended up getting the win, ended up getting the W. I scored the first round to Turner, and then the second and third to Fervola. I didn't see what the judges' decisions were on that. I probably should check before talking, but fuck it. Round one, Turner landed some good counters, and he had decent submission takedown defense. Although it wasn't the best, it was good enough to where he got out of those positions. You could tell, he's been working on it. He has some skills there. And, since it was early in the first round, he was able to do it, and he was still had his energy. And although... I forgot about that. Oh yeah, in the second round there was an illegal head kick by Frevola. Frevola was on his back on the ground, and then Turner was in his guard, in his full guard, but he was on his knees. And as he was on his knees, as a lot of the guys do, they do up kicks to prevent guys from passing their guard or getting close to them. But Frevola kicked him his heel right into the eye. And it's a legal strike, and the referee did not take a point. He said it grazed him. If you look at the replay, it did not graze him. Fucking heel straight to the eyeball. You could tell it caused Jalen some discomfort and, may have negatively impacted the fight. And, I think at one point should have been taken there, man, because that's a huge deal. You get kicked in the face when, it's just getting kicked in the face at all is a huge deal. But it's even worse when you don't expect it, because you're in a position where if a guy does, it's illegal. So you're not defending it at all. You're not thinking about it. You're like, oh, that guy's not kicking me in the face because it's illegal. It's against the rules. So then when it does happen, when you least expect it, that's when it's worse, when you get caught off guard. And you could tell it stunned him pretty bad. He instantly reacted. And it might have messed up his eyesight too. I don't know. I'm not him. I'm not looking through his eyeballs. So who knows? But because he didn't give that 1 point away, the referee, I think it was Kevin McDonald. I don't know. It's either Kevin McDonald or I forget the other guy. But I always get them mixed up. And one of them lately has been giving me questionable decisions and stoppages lately, and I don't know. But it was a good fight. I think the 1 point should have been taken there, and then I would have gave it a draw. But who knows? Congrats to Steamroller Frevola. He got his first one in the UFC, so that's pretty hype. That's special. And although Turner took the L, he'll definitely be back. He's a young guy. He's got skill, promising talent, especially at that division and at his length and his size. He's going to be a problem for a lot of guys. So yeah, it's a good way to end the prelims on ESPN. Should I take a break here? Nah, I'm feeling it. Let's just roll through it. Fuck it. The only reason I want to take a break is because my buddy just said he's on Xbox and I'm a fucking nerd and I want to play video games. But let's talk about these fights. Let's get out of the way, because if I don't do it now, I'm going to put it off and then not going to do it. And I have to do a preview episode this week as well. On 4/20 this week and this Saturday, they're going to St. Petersburg, Russia, I believe, between Alexei Olenek and Alistar Overeem. It's a main event. I don't know. Honestly, they showed the card on this card this past Saturday, and I didn't recognize any of those names. It looks like a bunch of Russian fighters going to be fighting. Probably a lot of guys from, I think it's AAC, which is the fighter organization in Russia, I believe. I think that's what Herb Dean says. Yeah, I'll talk about that more later on, honestly. But the first fight of the main card was between OSP, Ovince Peru, and Nikita Krylov. They fought before. I think it was back in 2012, so it was a while ago. Maybe not that long ago, but it was a while ago. And OSP got him with the Von Flue choke, or the OSP choke. And, he almost had him the first with the same fucking choke, man. And, he looked decent the first. I gave OSP the first round, but after the first round, he looked gas. He looked really gas. He had 3 takedowns, but he worked hard to get them. And I think that was pretty much the end of the fight. He just looked gas, man. And his fucking corner was yelling at him, after the first round, "You don't get tired. You don't get tired." Well, you can say that all you want, but that man was tired. He was huffing and puffing. He was breathing out of his mouth halfway through the first. Because I think it took a lot out of him to get Krylov down, because Krylov was messing him up on the feet. So SP was trying real hard to take him down. He got 3 takedowns the first round, but I think it drained him. Krylov had good striking. And then he ended up taking OSP down in the second, actually, because I think OSP was just done, man. And, he just beat him up and sucked in that rear naked choke and got that W in the second round. Congrats to Krylov for his second stint in the UFC. This is definitely going to put him a long way to staying here. Probably deserves a top 15 matchup. After beating, I believe OSP was ranked 12, and OSP was a title contender at one point. I guess he's just been reeling as late, but I think on any given day he could probably beat anybody, and Krylov looked good. Maybe any given day he could beat anybody as well. And, I could see some exciting matchups with him. I look forward to seeing him back in the cage. And I look forward to seeing OSP back, and, hopefully he can rebound and, just work on his overall game. As I said, he looked gassed, and, once he looked gassed, it looked like he didn't want to be there. I don't know if he wanted to be there at all. I'm not gonna question a fighter's mentality or mindset going in, and I don't know the guy. I don't know how he reacts. But I don't know, in hindsight's 2020, knowing now that he lost, but in the moment, I thought he looked like he didn't want to be there. Kind of like Aldo looked when he fought McGregor, and he got starched in 13 or 14 seconds, whatever it was. You can just tell sometimes when guys, you could see in their eyes that, I don't know, that something's off. And I don't know, I sensed that with OSP halfway through the first, when he realized how hard it was to take Krylov down, and that he was messing up on the feet, and that this guy had changed drastically since last time he fought him. I think maybe OSP he might have been banking on that. He knew he got him with the Von Flue choke before, he could probably do it again, and probably use his ground expertise. But it was just too hard, and once he faced that wall, he looked like a deer in headlights. Solid performance by Krylov. The next fight, this was the quote-unquote boring fight that I think I might have mentioned at the beginning of this, but I restart this intro fucking 3 times, so I don't know if I did or not. But it was between Alan Jouban and Dwight Grant. Where are minutes for this? So Jouban... I don't have any notes of the first round, but I gave Dwight Grant the first round. I think he was probably now that I'm remembering, he was a more busy fighter. Just had more strikes in the first round. Jouban had good pressure in the second, had a takedown in the last second, so I think got him that round, in my opinion. And also Dwight Grant seemed to be breathing heavy after the second round. And this was just honestly, this was just kind of a boring fight. It was a lot of just Jouban following Grant around the cage. Dwight Grant was just backpedaling, and, he's a very powerful guy, and he's a good counterpuncher, and he's really, really fast and powerful. And Jouban likes the pressure and, just keep the pressure on the guys and have them wilt. And I think it worked to a sense because he kept, it's more tiring to go backwards than it is to go forward. So as Grant was going forward and circling the entire fight, Jouban was following him, but Jouban wasn't really putting much of an output on him. He wasn't, he was just following him around the cage. He wasn't even cutting him off. He wasn't throwing, jab to get closer. He wasn't throwing, double jab and fucking, straight in there to get some combos going or to get flowing. He just followed him and it looks like that was Grant's game plan. He knew that Jouban likes to put that pressure, so his game plan was just to circle away from his power shots and just counter him as he was coming in. And in the first round, that's what he did brilliantly, in my opinion. Jouban was doing his pressure, trying to cut him off, but as he was coming in to put some strikes, Dwight Grant would hit him with a powerful counter shot. And it made Jouban think twice, in my opinion, on doing that again. And I think it made him very hesitant. He had a long layoff between this fight and his last fight, so I think I just don't think he was in that zone as he should have been. And I actually ended up giving the second and third round to Alan Jouban, but I could see it going either way as very close in that third round. Nothing really happened, so the judges ended up scoring it 29-28 to Dwight Grant. One judge gave all 3 rounds to Jouban, 30-27, and then the other judge gave it 29-28 to Grant, which, as I said, I could see it going either way. I gave it to Jouban, and Jouban he was fired up after the fight, but honestly, I don't think you could be upset, man, because you didn't throw enough shit. You literally threw like 10 strikes in the second round or third round or something like that. The output was very small. It was like 25 strikes for 15 minutes. That's crazy, man. You're not even throwing 2 strikes a minute. So you can't complain when the fight goes to the judges' scorecards and you didn't leave it all out there. You even said, "Oh, I could go another 2 rounds." Well, why? You signed up for a 3-round fight. Why can you go another 2 rounds? You should have emptied the tank. You should have pressed the gas tank and made sure you got the win. If you don't want to, if you think you got screwed over by the judges, okay, finish the fucking fight then. Pressure. Put a little more fucking output out there. Make it convincing. Even though I gave them those last 2 rounds, I can see how judges could give them the third or the second round. I really can. Give Dwight the first or second or third round. Maybe not the second, but definitely the third. He didn't have enough output. So, you can't get mad at the judges for not, you just didn't do anything. You did nothing. You just followed him around the entire time. So, I don't know why you're mad, bro. Honestly, it just makes you look worse, makes you look like a crybaby. And I think you need to watch the film again and realize that this was the most boring night of the fight, and it was all your fault. Dwight Grant did his game plan, probably down to a science. It's probably exactly what they planned. And he, he's a young up-and-comer guy, and this is probably the first time he kind of faced adversity, and it looked like he was a little winded. So he just stuck to his game plan, circling, getting away, making you chase him. And as you would try to come in, he just lit you up. And every time you came in, every time Joban came in with like a couple strikes, trying to get in there and get close and, do some damage, Grant just countered with a nicely timed counter punch and just, would shock him. And you could tell Grant's punches, his strikes just had a little more effect on Joban than Joban did on Grant. And I'm not upset with the decision. I think the judges were pretty good. I think they were really good actually this night. Most of the judges had what I had scored. As I said, I'm not an expert. I'm not officially trained, but I'm a huge fan, and yeah, most of the time don't see eye to eye. So I think you just need to get back in the gym, Joban, and do better, put more output out, and get the win next time. I had money on you in a parlay. All you had to do was fucking throw a couple more punches and you would have fucking won. I'd be a little happier with your performance as well. But fuck it. Next fight of the night, third to last fight, and the last fight before the 2 crazy championship fights was between Eric Anders and Khalil Roundtree. And oh my God, man, Khalil Roundtree just looked amazing. And I couldn't believe Roundtree was a betting underdog this entire week going in. This might be his first or second fight at 205, but he's not a 205er. Roundtree is a legit 205er. Anders should probably be fighting at 185. He'll look a little chunky at 205. And damn, Roundtree went over to Thailand before this fight, which I didn't know going into it, but god damn that. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? I know I did for several years before I actually started. I had so many questions, how do I record? Do I need a fancy microphone? Do I need expensive cameras? Do I need to hire somebody? Do I need editing software? Do I need a studio? Do I need a website to, distribute this? How do I pay for a website and hosting? How do I get people to listen? How do I make money? And I struggle with this, and all those questions are the reason why it took me forever to just start. And the awesome thing is that Anchor solves all these questions. They answer all these questions. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. It's ridiculous. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. I'm just in my 3rd episode in, and this is my first ad, and they're giving me $10 for this ad. It's only $10, but it's a start, and it will lead to more. So if you always wanted to start a podcast and aim to make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start. In order to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. Can't wait to hear you. All right, so I'm not sure where I got cut off, but I'm pretty sure I got cut off talking about Eric Anders and Cleo Roundtree. I'm doing laundry now, and the alarm on my phone fucking stopped the first recording, but we're going to keep going. We're going to power through it. But yeah, Khalil Roundtree went to Thailand before this fight, which I didn't know beforehand, and just pretty much revamped his entire style. He always had a decent ground game, and was a good pressure-shooting fighter, decent stand-up, but he always looked a little stiff and not very fluid, but that's a complete difference now. He's a completely different fighter. Just had intense volume, powerful leg kicks, man. It looks like this guy's been, doing Thai fighting for the longest time, for years. It just looked great. Round 1, he dropped him early. Round 2, he dropped him again. He had 4 knockdowns in the fucking second round versus Anders. And, man, I don't even know how Anders was still in there, man. That dude's a savage and the heart of a fucking warrior. Just tough as nails, man. I mean, former Alabama linebacker, I'm sure. And, and the guys that are commentating were saying, man, I wonder what this compares, after day soreness to those SEC matchups at Alabama. And, I haven't been in any legit fights or anything like that, no sanctioned fights, but I think that football soreness is worse. So I think Anders will be fine. He's a tough dude, maybe too tough for his own sake. I think the guys commentating the fight, Rogan and DC and John Anik, were all saying that his corner should have stopped it out to the second. And I agree with them. There was really no way he had a chance of winning that fight. He could barely stand on his front legs, so he had no power. And really the only chance he had to win that fight was by finishing him with, one solid punch, because there's no way he's going to get a combo off with how much faster and more disciplined and more fluid Roundtree was. But, I hope Anders goes back to 185. I think that's better for him. I look forward to seeing him again. He's a solid fighter, tough as nails, Cravage heart, crazy heart, savage, man. Goddamn, I can't wait for Roundtree to fight again. This man gained a lot of fans, I think, over this fight, and rightfully so. He deserves a top 15 guy, maybe even number around his name now. And he looks so good, man. I think he can compete right now with those top guys and maybe one day fight John Jones for that title or whoever holds the title. So congrats to him. He looked great. And if it wasn't for the 2 championship fights, he deserved a performance bonus. Just give him some extra money, man. That was a great performance. But let's get into the 2 greatest fights possibly of the year. Back to back, goddamn. These, and after the event, the entire night, all I could say is wow. Goddamn, those fights are awesome. I'm just it was so great. Co-main event between Kelvin Gastelum and Israel, the Last Stylebender, Adesanya. It was just a fucking war, man. And this is the first time I've seen Israel in danger and, have to dig down and find that lion heart. And, he prevailed. He ended up getting the decision win, 48-46 on all judges' scorecards. And I think that's how I scored it as well. No, I had it. Oh, yeah, no, that's how I had it too. Let's see where my notes. I gave the first round to Kelvin Gastelum. He knocked him down in the first, although officially they didn't give him the knockdown. I gave him the knockdown. It was a fucking knockdown. He was landing some power shots in the second. Had a takedown, but he didn't really control them. He did look a little gassed after round 3, but then he came out round 4 even stronger. Adesanya knocked Gastelum down in the second. And he just opened up and looked more fluid. It looked like he downloaded Gastelum's movement and kind of realized where to go from there. He's kind of like, his real Adesanya is kind of like Floyd Mayweather. Like, it takes him around, not always, but it takes him a little bit to. It's not that he's a slow starter. He's just so technical and so fluid with this movement, and so his fight IQ is just off the charts, especially in the cage during the fight, and how he can make in-fight adjustments. Not like in between round adjustments, but literally second adjustments within the fight. It's wild. And he just downloads everything his opponent does and realizes, okay, where his reach is at, where he can hit him, where he can't, and goes from there. And it's just brilliant performance by both guys. I gave Gastelum the first round with that knockdown. I gave Adesanya the second with that knockdown. And the third, Adesanya just got the better striking exchanges. It looked like he started to pull away with it. But then Gastelum came back strong in that fourth round. He stunned him bad. The worst Adesanya I've ever seen him hurt. So it was 2-2 going to that round. It was tied up. And then Adesanya just poured it on in the fifth, man. He just looked brilliant and just made it definite for all of us that he won that fight. I gave him 10-8, and all three judges gave him 10-8 in that round. And they all scored it 48-46 and gave him the W. He's the interim champ at 185. He'll be fighting Rob Whittaker next. I think Whittaker said he'd probably be ready for August, September. So we'll see where when that lines up, where that ends up taking place. And I look forward to talking about that fight in the future. And Gastelum's going nowhere, man. He's a solid fighter. With the guy with the fucking 8-inch reach advantage on him. He was in there, man. And he's a big underdog, but I think if these guys run it back next time, he'll be a smaller underdog. And, Gastelum's going to be up in that top 5 for a while. He's a young guy, and I'm sure he'll face Adesanya again, and I'm sure he'll get a title shot soon. You just got to take a couple steps back and then, take even more steps forward and just keep progressing. I know he will. He's got the mentality of a fighter, and he's got the right makeup. And I look forward to seeing both of these guys next, and can't wait. As far as the main event between Max Blessed Holloway and Dustin the Diamond Poirier, what a great fucking fight. And honestly, this ended up going how even though I was leaning towards Max in this fight just because his volume and his output, and I just thought maybe he's just on a whole nother level, this ended up going how I thought it would in the back of my mind. Although Max is the taller fighter, Poirier had a slight reach advantage, but he definitely had the power advantage and size advantage. You could tell he's a more natural 155er. And you could see it in his back. Poirier's back is just thick, wide. It's just you could tell that's where he gets power from. Whereas Max is a little skinnier and slender, but he was also fighting at 145. If he was come up to 155 in the future, probably will put a little more muscle on, a little more power, and be able to compete better. And it's not like he didn't compete. Just Poirier just had the right game plan. He never let Max, settle down, get in his rhythm. Max definitely had his points there where he had, 10 punch combinations like he always does. But Poirier did a good job. Anytime that Max was starting to feel himself, he'd hit him with, with a nice long jab or, jab straight combination or a couple combinations, and powerful shots too to knock him off that rhythm, have him reset, step backwards. And I think Max stepped back more than Poirier did, and, honestly ended up getting Poirier the belt. And I had the first 2 rounds going to Poirier. I had the third round to Holloway. And then the last 2 rounds to Poirier. So I had 49-46, and all the judges had 49-46 to Poirier. And it wasn't like a dominant win, but, he won 4 out of 5 rounds. So it was pretty clear who the better fighter was that night. And both guys showed a loads amount of respect towards each other. And it was great to see. And I can't wait to see both of these guys in the octagon again. hopefully Poirier gets that shot versus Khabib for the title, and they can, combine the belts or whatever. I forget the quote-unquote legit term for it. Unify. So they can unify the belts. Khabib tweeted after the fight, said, "See you in September." And I think if the guys in the post-fight show, they said in September there's an Abu Dhabi card. So potentially that would be a huge fight for Khabib versus Poirier in Abu Dhabi. And I think Khabib, or somebody mentioned in the past that they would love to see Khabib on that Abu Dhabi card because it's kind of close to Russia, and his family and stuff would be able to go, his fans, and could be potentially one of the biggest cards in history just because Khabib's there. Those Abu Dhabi oil men there, man, they got money, and they'll put a fucking stadium in the middle of the desert. I mean, they got fucking snow slopes in the middle of the desert. They fucking make it rain literally like once a week because they have so much money. They just cloud seed and have it rain, even though it doesn't rain there naturally because they're in the fucking desert. So I mean, yeah, look forward to seeing Poirier in there, hopefully versus Khabib, and hopefully on the Abu Dhabi card, get Poirier another nice huge payday and see that matchup. I think he has a decent shot versus Khabib. He's got a good ground game. He definitely doesn't have the ground game that Khabib does, but maybe he can keep it standing, and definitely would have the striking advantage as long as he kind of how he did with Max, just get a couple strikes in there as he's coming in. You don't let him get set up for that takedown. As he's coming in for that takedown, throw some knees or throw some jabs and just keep him away for your legs. Have some good sprawl takedown defense, and if you can keep it standing, it should be easy pickings, but it's a lot easier said than done. So it was a great fucking fight, man. Great fucking night of fights. Glad I fucking watched it. And I guess just to close, I always like to close these with some latest news and stuff. I don't really have any news right now, but I did see some people had some issues with the pay-per-view ESPN model to where they purchased it on their computer, but then it wasn't displaying for them on their TVs or their connected tablets or whatever. I personally did not have any issues with that because I did not use the pay-per-view. I used a third-party streaming place that will remain nameless, and I don't know, man. I'm curious to see the pay-per-view numbers, and I see a lot of people had issues with the pay-per-view through ESPN, and I think it was kind of dumb of them to only do it through ESPN Plus. You got to do it through the cable, man, too, because anybody that's over 35, I mean, sure, they might know how to work a computer, but they're going to be more used to the cable pay-per-view model where you can just order it from your TV. Why not? And you can still keep it on ESPN. It doesn't have to all just be on ESPN Plus. That's just dumb. So you're making it to where you have to have internet to do it. Older people might not have internet, or at least the capabilities to have internet to connect to their TV. They might not have a smart TV. Not everyone has a smart TV. I don't have a fucking smart TV. But the way I do it is I use the HDMI cord to hook up to the TV to my laptop. Not everyone knows how to do that. Yes, it's pretty basic, technology 101. But, guys in 35 and older might not know how to do that if they're not in, tech savvy, so to say. Like, if I try to tell my mom how to get these fights, she'd be so fucking confused. She's not a fight fan, but she wouldn't know how to do that. So, I mean, you're just limiting your base to people, to the younger generation and people that know how to work computers. That's really what you're limiting your base to. It's not even fight fans before, and fight fans is already it's not a small market, like it's millions of people, but it's not hundreds of millions of people like the population of the United States, which is what I assume you want to grow your fan base to. All you're doing right now is limiting it. You're limiting it. You're taking... Your fan base is already fight fans, okay. let's just, to make it simple, let's just put a number on it. Let's just say it's 10 million. It's probably more, but the most that's ever bought a pay-per-view was like 2 million. So for argument's sake, let's say just fight fan base. Well, I'll just say it's 1 million then. I'll say your fan base, your base fans is 1 million people, which might be accurate, at least in the United States. Okay, so that's your base, and now you're only offering it on ESPN Plus. So you're really only offering it to people that are either tech savvy or younger people, just because younger people are pretty much all tech savvy, but anybody over 35 or 40, they don't know what the fuck ESPN Plus bullshit is. They don't know how to fucking hook up a laptop, use an HDMI cord to their TV. Some of them don't even have fucking, smart TVs or anything like that. As I said, I don't. So you're already taking a concentrated base of 1 million followers, and let's say, I'm assuming that I feel like most fight fans are older people. People that have been around since UFC 1, saw Royce Gracie do the jiu-jitsu amazingness that, we all saw for the first time. And I don't know, I'd say at least half the fan base is older people that just like watching dudes fight. And you're just making it harder for them, and I think it's just going to hurt your model. You're hurting half your fan base, and I think you're cutting it in half and making it worse for them. So I think going forward, just offer it on cable too, but through ESPN pay-per-view. Can that not be done? I'm sure it can be done. Just come up with the deal for ESPN pay-per-view for cable. ESPN is already on every cable network out there. You just plug your shit in the wall, you get ESPN. So why not make it accessible on all mediums? Just don't make it the internet. Bring it to cable too, so the older fucking fans can see the fights as well, or people that don't know how to do technology. Only reason I know to do it is because I got paid and I have a degree in it, and because I had a computer and a cell phone since I was fucking 10 years old, I don't think many fight fans can say that. And if anything, most people my age aren't fight fans. Like, they only are concentrated on McGregor or Khabib, and that's really it. They don't really know what just happened this past weekend. So I think they're really hurting the bottom line by doing that. I'm interested to see what the pay-per-view numbers end up being. But I think they'll end up proving me right. And it's sad because these are some of the best fights out there. I think it's the best card from top to bottom that we've had this year. First pay-per-view card. So yeah, it should make sense with that and be in line with that. But yeah. I guess just to close, good night of fights. Can't wait for these next fights coming up on 420 in St. Petersburg, Russia. Even though I don't know most of them, I'll learn about them through these fights. The preview episode will probably be a little shorter because, I have a week and I literally only knew like the main event people. So I'm not going to be able to know detailed information about 20 fighters within a week. That's, I still have a full-time job, and I'm actually sick right now. I have fucking tonsillitis and fucking on antibiotics. So, yeah, I just don't have time to fucking research 20 fighters from top to bottom of their career. I'll do my best, but, it is what it is. If you don't like it, you know what to do. It's called lick my balls. And on that note, love all you guys. Goodbye.